Okay, so we're going to launch Tideda version 4. You can see when it first starts up, it doesn't have much here. We've got a help menu, which is about Tideda. One thing that could be of use is the reference manual here. So you need to have that. I'll refer to that probably quite often. View, we want to view all these bars, task bars, status bars, and then file is where we're going to start. So the first thing we need to do, obviously it works on files and we need to point it in the right direction, but before that we also need to set up our preferences. So let's have a look at our preferences first. So this box has our general preferences, so we need to work out a working directory. Where do we want to have all our files stored and put and filed onto? Just a general place, usually on our C drive, maybe under your own name. So if I browse and look under my local, if I go out of here to my computer, under my C drive, often I put things under my own names. I've got a directory called Evan, and maybe I'll have a file, Tideda file here called, there's an evan.mtd. So I'm going to have that as a default directory now. My text editor, Notepad, you could use WordPad. Recent files list, you can have as many as you like here, but what it does is that when you open up, it has the last 4 input files that you've used. You can make that 7, 10. It's always a good idea to maximize your window and opening, so it goes to full screen. And to show the Explorer tree, the Explorer tree being the list down the left of all your sites. And then when you click on a site, to show the data, it shows the number of days, which we tend to default as a week. You can turn this on and off, change the number of days. We'll come back to the date formats after. So these are grayed out because we haven't yet selected an input file. So we'll look at this more in the next session. Printers, you'll have to obviously assign the printer in your office. Attributes. Now attributes are the site names, numbering, any information that we want to store against the site number in Tideda. So generally we have a file called sites.att for attributes, and in that we have all our sites. We'll refer to that later as a demonstration. So we need to have a file assigned. If you haven't, you can just create one called that. And comments also. Comments are just the metadata or anything that we need to write about our data at a specific date and time. So again, we can just create one here. As a text file is probably the easiest. So I think again, I've created a dummy one on C drive under my name. If we look at this with details, let's make that a bit larger. You can see it's picking up any comment files that you might have. Here's one I've called demo.comment, so we're going to open that one. So we've assigned files, text files, attribute files, printers, and just general conditions to where we want our data kept and how we want it to display. So that's the first thing to sort out. You can OK that. So when we open up the file again, you'll see we mentioned before we had list of 4 previous files displayed. As you can make that more or less, but 4 is usually enough to show you the common ones that you use. So if you don't have any there, of course, if the first time you've used Tideda, you'll have to create a
we're going to open our existing file here, which is just an archive file.
To see this work,
on it, just for
go
this
to the next
demonstration.
tutorial, which is about input files and creating files. You'll see it opens here with this tree we talked about, showing all our sites. Now this has the attributes next to every site number. You can see the attribute, the names, the information is there. So let's say we didn't have a attribute file that had any of our information in it. I'll just go and find one that's for other work. So let's have a look here. So here's one here. Just open that up, and if I go OK, you'll see that everything comes up untitled. In other words, it's lost all its attributes because we haven't assigned an attribute file for this data set or this file with all these site numbers in it. So again, we need to go back either through attribute file or preferences, attributes, and browse for that sites.at file, which has all our information. And there you'll see it populates all the numbers. So when we have a blank attribute file like this, and we select our file as before, we come up with the untitled. Now if we want to obviously edit these attributes, under edit we have a edit attribute option. So this comes up with a box here, so we can select our site number from our list. So let's go to this one here, go OK, and we're going to talk about kind, gauging, histogram, incremental. Of course each data set we have is in a different kind. A lot of this is covered in the pre-reading document before you've done these, looked at these sessions, so hopefully you've read about these and what they mean. So in this instance we're going to stick with instantaneous, which is just our will level reading. So our title page for this, so our site number, instantaneous, and our title is the river name, Tyre in this case, or the Tyre River at downstream power. And if we OK that and go save and exit and refresh this, you'll see now it's come up with, at the site number, the Tyre River at downstream power. So one other thing to note here with the editing, if we go back to this edit attribute for the site, back to the title page, there's the option here to uncheck this at. So if we uncheck that, it'll just be Tyre River. Obviously we can put the at in there, or we can write another description. So at may not be what you need at the site, so you can take that in and out depending how you want to format your title. But we'll go back to our existing attribute file, so under our preferences, attributes, in this case we're using one called sites.at, which has all our sites in it. And we've got, now you can see we have all our information come up. So if we go back to this river here, for instance, we can see we have the stage. So because we've ticked 7 days showing, it shows the last 7 days here at this site. We can also look at the flow, in this case in litres. But if we also edit the attribute then for this site, so it's coming up with the site now. We've got our title page, which is the Tyre at below Paddy Row Power Station. We can also add in our map references and other details here, although they're not always important. But we'll also have an unrated and a rated option. Unrated being stage. So in this case we'll put in there's many items that go alongside a site with the gaugings and other information we hold. So you can see at the site here you need to at least put in our item 1, our first item, which is always stage, the file units, millimeters, and our presentation units, which may be meters. And if they were meters, we would have meters in there. We need to divide by 1000, and our format is point hash hash hash. So it'll be in one meter, 1 point such, or 2 point, 3, 4, 5 meters. So that's the format you want to look at. Divide by 1000, and then in meters. The other thing we have in here is a rated option. So for our rated option, which is our flow, so we're putting the stage through our rating to give us a flow. In this case it's in litres per second, but we might want to have presentation units, which is in cumex, or meters cubed per second, again with a divide by 1000. So these attributes need to be assigned to the parameters so that they show properly. So if I save and exit there, so our stage shows here in millimeters against time, and our flow is in litres against time.